It's a 5-game night in the ACC, and we've got a doubleheader for you on ACC Network, and we start here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Number 24 Duke back at home after a 1-point win at Boston College, and they meet the Pitt Panthers, who lost for the first time by a point on Saturday at home to Clemson. Great to be with Dan Bonner, Wes Durham. Welcome upstairs here to the Crow's Nest at Cameron. Timing of this game is really interesting. 4-1, 3-2 in the ACC with these respective clubs. But we also get stars. And Jamarius Burton of Pitt is a star in this league, Dan.
He is a star in this league. This is a veteran guy, a graduate student at Pitt, big and strong. Over his last 3 games, he scored 31, 15, and 28. He can make a 3, but he's at his best using that size and strength to get inside. He's very effective in the mid-range. Now that's the old guy. The young guy is Dariq Whitehead, a very highly touted recruit coming in. He had some injury problems early in the year. He's just rounding back into shape. And his last couple of games, my goodness, Wes, he is starting to show the kind of skill that everybody thought he would possess. Duke is looking for a go-to guy. This may be the guy.
Yep, Whitehead had 18, a season high in Saturday's 65-64 win at Boston College. Both schools have won 5 of their last 6 as they come to the floor tonight here at Cameron. Duke leads the series 14-8. They've split the last 2 meetings. Nobody on Jeff Capel's roster has played a game inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. The students are back. That means the crazies are here, including some characters from morning television, apparently.
Well, there are certainly some characters here.
Federico and Kyle Filipowski get us started. Ron Groover, Jeffrey Clark, and John Gaffney on the whistle, and away we go from Cameron. One of the veteran pieces of this Pitt team is Nellie Cummings.
Very important for Duke to contain him. They can't let him beat their guys off the dribble to create, because Pitt's got some outstanding 3-point shooters. Burton up top, rimmed out, the rebound for Whitehead. Both teams will play very aggressive man-to-man defense.
Proctor, the freshman from Australia. Here is Mitchell, Filipowski, and Young, who draws the start again here tonight.
Filipowski trying to work inside against Hinson.
With the right shoulder, turns, forced it up, and got his own miss, and Duke in front.
Before the start of conference play, Duke was doing an outstanding job on the offensive boards. That's tailed off a little bit against the ACC, but boy, they got it done that time.
And Cummings going to draw a foul on a drive, and the foul is going to be on the freshman from Australia, Tyrese Proctor. It's his first. It's number 1 on Duke. Now, John Gaffney, Jeffrey Clark signaled 2 shots. There's a discussion among this officiating crew about whether or not he was in the act of shooting. They have settled on Jeffrey Clark's original verdict. So there'll be 2 free throws coming for Nellie Cummings. And John Shire talking to Ron Groover with his case. And a free throw by Cummings, front rim and in. When I say veteran piece, look at the journey of Nellie Cummings. 3 years at Colgate, and now will spend a grad year, if you will, playing for Pittsburgh. He is from Midland, Pennsylvania.
Wes, you got to keep him off the line. He's only missed 1 free throw all year.
Yep. Now 28 of 29 at the line is the 6-foot guard. Tied at 2. We expect this to be a very hotly contested ball game tonight in a lot of different ways, as Proctor bangs the 3, his 15th of the year, and a good sign for the freshman, Dan.
And he has not shot the 3 well this year, and we talked to Jeff Capel before the game, and he said, I know he can shoot the 3. I just hope he doesn't start tonight.
Well,
look out.
Yep. Here's Burton. This is Elliott to catch and shoot, and he draws Pitt to within a point. Grad transfer from Marquette. And the portal is a friend to the Panthers' success this year for sure.
Boy, they're going right at Hinson with Filipowski.
Yep, here's a kick to Mitchell. Out front, Proctor. And now Whitehead will launch. A little strong, the long rebound, knocked around and scooped up Mitchell. Feeds Young, blocked away Federico. John Shire wanted basket interference, didn't get it. Here's Cummings, and now Burton.
Wes, you talked about this being hotly contested. You've seen it already.
Little runner is good. Jamarius Burton.
That's his game, Wes. Like I said, he can shoot the three, but that is his game right there.
And the clear pronounced leader of this Pittsburgh team is the grad from Charlotte. Started originally at Texas Tech, Wichita State, and now at Pitt. Turned over by the Blue Devils. Panthers in transition, and here is Federico for his first basket.
Wes, and the Pitt Panthers don't look for Federico. That's how he scores. Running the court, offensive rebounds, off screen and rolls. They don't run any plays for him.
3-point lead for Pitt. And now Jeffrey Clark, a whistle and foul off the ball, and it's on Henson. First on Blake Henson, first on the Panthers.
This is a great steal by Elliott, and Federico, he's trailing the play, but he just beats everybody else down the court. Young has to try to stop the ball, and Federico just hustled down the court and got an easy one.
Young man is from Finland, born in Egypt, played at Northern Oklahoma, Tonkawa in the junior college ranks before coming to Pitt, and there's Mitchell drawing a foul on Elliott.
And Wes, early in this game, we've seen that Duke is trying to exploit a couple of matchups. Mitchell, much bigger than Elliott, just takes him inside. Elliott draws the foul. Elliott is a key offensive component for Pitt. They can't have him in foul trouble, and the same applies to Henson. Duke has been attacking Henson with Filipowski early.
Left-handed freshman from Kansas City. He's a 74% free throw shooter. Duke is third in the ACC so far in free throw percentage in conference play at better than 78%. They're 78 flat, second in the ACC if you tally all the regular season numbers together. Mitchell draws the Blue Devils to within one early in the ball game.
You watch the Panthers, they don't really have anybody in the low post to start. They're trying to spread the court, create opportunities.
Cummings read the screen, pulled the trigger, rattled out for Young's rebound. And here is Proctor leading the Blue Devils. Skip to the corner, Whitehead thought it, now will fire. And Filipowski the rebound and bounces it off of Henson. It'll stay with the Blue Devils. Heady play by Kyle Filipowski. A 7-foot freshman who leads Duke in scoring, rebounding, and steals, ironically.
And now Nate Santos coming into the game, and that's Filipowski is going to have a bigger advantage because Santos, he's 6'7", but he only weighs 210 pounds.
Yeah, Henson and Elliott are out. Santos and Nike Sabandi has come into the lineup for Coach Capel's Panthers as well. Young reverses against Federico with a right hand. Santos the rebound.
I'll tell you what, Federico is a long 6'11". It's hard to get the ball over him.
Yep. And Cummings is going to draw a foul from Proctor. And Tyrese Proctor's second. And that is the second on Duke. And that will bring Jalen Blakes to the table for John Shire.
And Wes, keep an eye on that. That's 2 fouls on Proctor. In the last game we had against Boston College, it was Proctor and Blake who handled the point guard duties.
And here's Derek Lively the second, the 7'1" freshman from Philadelphia, on the floor for Ryan Young here. So Lively, who played only 12 minutes Saturday at Boston College, gets an early chance here for Coach Shire. Out front, 3-ball Santos, too strong. Burton the rebound. Cummings launches. Front rim miss. Sabandi fights through, and it's a third try for Pitt at the offensive end. Nike hits on a three.
Sabandi has shot the three very well in the last few games, particularly in ACC play. This is a guy who made over 200 threes in his career. You can't leave him alone.
4-point lead now for the Panthers. Filipowski on the drive, and the runner good. Boy, tough shot. Second field goal for the freshman.
Again, Wes, he's been very aggressive tonight.
Yep. Cummings. Here is Burton. Pittsburgh protecting a 2-point lead. Santos on the drive all the way through with the left hand and scores. Nate Santos, 21-year-old sophomore from Geneva, Illinois. Played 12 minutes in Saturday's loss to Clemson. Comes in here and gets a quick bucket. Pitt's lead back to 4. Blake's had it deflected by Cummings. It will stay with the Blue Devils, but first, a timeout. 23rd meeting all time between Pitt and Duke here tonight at Cameron. And for the first time, it features two former Duke stars. Back after this. Common ground of Northbrook, Illinois' John Shire, who is 35 years of age and, of course, starred here at Duke, and Fayetteville, North Carolina native Jeff Capel, who's 47 years of age. The common ground tonight comes full circle. I don't know where the guy in the middle is watching the game tonight, but I bet he's proud of the moment.
He's proud of both of those guys. Absolutely, Wes.
Yep. Great stars here for Coach Krzyzewski, and now tonight meeting his head coaches. And, of course, Jeff was here as a player and an assistant a couple times, and the last time it was with John Shire.
Well, John Shire and Jeffrey Clark are really going at one another. There's a lot of conversation going on, and I thought Jeffrey Clark was very close to teeing Shire up just before we went to break. There's a lot of points there.
Yeah. Duke will have it. Trailing by 3.
Wes, and of course, against Boston College, Jeremy Roach didn't play, and he's not playing again tonight.
Oh, that is correct.
And that's why Duke is a little short-handed in that point guard spot.
Filipowski turned it over, trying to spin through the pivot and bounce pass. Sabandi Burton couldn't hang on. Santos, the follow of the loose change, and draws a foul.
Well, Burton, I think, was excited to get that ball up before the defense could catch up. He knew Lively was coming and just didn't handle the pass.
Yep. So a couple of free throws for Nate Santos after the foul on Derek Whitehead, Dan.
Duke is very anxious to set its defense against Pitt West to try to keep them out of the lane, and you can't do that if you're going to turn the ball over.
Santos, the first of 2, rims off. This is a young man from Geneva, Illinois. His dad, a longtime professional player in Puerto Rico. The dad, the mom, the brother, and a sister, all basketball players. So when you hear the term basketball family, well, this crowd, they lead the charge.
Well, Santos is a guy who came in last year with the reputation out of high school that he could really shoot it. And he hasn't shot the ball well so far for Pitt, but they have great expectations for him.
Got 3 points on a 1-2 trip to the line. 4-point lead, turned over. Here's Cummings with the giveaway from Mitchell. Tried to get it to Burton, and Pitt turned it right back over Whitehead, the carom.
That's a tough pass.
Blake's Lively couldn't hang on, and Burton stepped out of bounds before he made the save. Little Keystone Cop-ish, Dan.
Good heavens, Wes. Well, we talked about the intensity out there, and I think this is a product of it. Everybody trying to make a play. Those cross-court passes are going to be hard for either team.
Grandison coming to the table for Duke as Blake's handles. It's been straight man-to-man from the jump. Mitchell trying to drive it. Santos did a nice job finding a spot to cut him off. Now Whitehead. This is a big-time move and shot. Look out. 17th three of the year for Derek Whitehead.
Not much you can do defensively about that. That's just an outstanding play.
And Diaz-Graham traveled with it. Guillermo, one of the twin freshmen.
Drives off Sabandi with the dribble and steps back behind the three-point line. That is big time, Wes.
Yes, it is. Substitutions both sides. Grandison has checked into the ball game. He replaces Filipowski. You see Guillermo Diaz-Graham with Nike Sabandi, Jamarius Burton, Greg Elliott now back on the floor for Pitt with Santos, and Whitehead couldn't get the roll, knocked around Lively, and Sabandi finally pulls it away. Burton into the front court with an alley on Lively and one. Jamarius Burton's second field goal of the ball game.
Wes, we talked about Whitehead and Burton before the game. In the last couple of possessions, we've seen each of those guys make an outstanding play. Now, Lively is 7 feet tall. He's a shot blocker, and Burton just goes right into him, puts his body into him, and then falling down somehow banks it in.
12th best free throw shooter in the ACC at 80%. And the free throw good. 5 of Pitt's points now belong to Jamarius Burton.
Burton is so big and strong for a guard, Wes, and yet he's got great balance.
Yep. 7 minutes gone in the first half. Grandison, the most veteran piece of Duke's roster, to Blake's. Inside, here's Lively with Diaz-Graham. Tried to bounce it back through to Grandison through his hands. And it will go to the Panthers on the Blue Devil turnover.
Boy, Duke is having a tough time hanging on to the ball, Wes. That's now 5 turnovers.
Lively out. Ryan Young comes back for Coach Shire. And you see Diaz-Graham checks out. And Federico returns.
Well, Guillermo Diaz-Graham and Jorge Diaz-Graham and Federico sort of make up the 5 spot for the Panthers.
Here's Federico, got blocked from behind, out of bounds by Whitehead.
And again, off a screen and roll, Federico going to the basket, and Burton finds him. Not very strong is Federico.
Here's Santos in front of the Duke bench. Mitchell the rebound. Mitchell trying to get by Elliott, had it poked away by Sabandi. Burton out in front. There's the lead pass. Elliott, soft jumper, spins out. Don't get many free looks against the Blue Devils.
Not free looks that close, that wide open. And Elliott's got to be careful. He has a little tendency to reach, and you can't do that this early with 1 foul.
Blake's. And the rebound for Elliott. Burton uses the Federico screen to the basket. 7 for Burton, largest lead of the game for Pitt.
Part of the problem for anybody playing Pitt is how do you stay in front of Burton?
Yep.
It's easy to say, this is what you got to do. It's very hard to execute.
Bounce pass for Young.
Ooh.
Tried to skip it across to Grandison. Did Young catch Federico?
He did, but the Blue Devils are very fortunate they didn't lose that one.
Yep. We get a break. 11:35 to go. Jamarius Burton has got 7 for Pitt early.
No.
11:35 to go in this first half. Pitt by 6, and Dan, Duke, a little bit of droughts. They had one on Saturday. We saw only 2 points in about 7 minutes. They 9 minutes without a field goal. Happened against NC State last Wednesday night, and certainly in the loss to Purdue as well.
And if you're a team that is not explosive offensively, and at this point Duke is not, you really can't afford those scoring droughts. Now, of course, we still have 11:35 left in the first half.
Yep.
So it's not a disaster yet, but they got to put some points on the board.
Here is Whitehead off the inbounds, out of the timeout for the Blue Devils. Grandison, quick entry for Young. He'll try and work on Federico, a little up and under, and Ron Groover whistles the travel. Now, part of the reason for the droughts for Duke here, especially in the last couple of ball games, is the unavailability of Jeremy Roach.
Well, Wes, he's got another problem with that toe. He's had it a couple of times this year, and they've elected to hold him out until he's 100% healthy.
Yeah, John Shire going as far as telling Dan and I today that there's a 3 ball by Sabandi that's good. That Jeremy Roach will be 100% when he takes the floor again. It's the second time in about 5 weeks this has become an issue for Duke, and they want to get him to 100% or as close as he is to 100 to get back on the floor and compete. So he's missed now the last 2 games and was very limited the other night in Raleigh in the loss to NC State. Grandison, a 3 that bounds away. 9-point lead, largest of the ball game for the Panthers. Burton reroute and a fall away on Blake's. Young clears.
And now Burton drew a lot of the defense into the lane. There were guys open. He just missed them.
Filipowski the catch and score. 3rd field goal for the freshman. He leads Duke with 6 now.
And the Blue Devils, part of their problem, Wes, is they've been turning it over. You can't break a scoring drought unless you score. And you can't score if you turn it over.
Henson, a 3-pointer. Knocks it down. Blake Henson's 35th 3 of the year. He's been double figures this year in all but 1 game for Pittsburgh. And he pushes it to a 10-point lead, and it's an 11-2 run by the visitors. Grandison a three. Filipowski gives Duke a second chance. Blake's for three. Federico had a shot at it. Burton pulls it away. Burton on the drive. And now Grandison will follow him as he backs out. He'll take two white shirts with him and score. 9 for Jamarius Burton. The lead is 12 for Pittsburgh. Timeout at the Duke bench when we continue.
Wes, Jamarius Burton has dominated this game, and one of the ways he's done it is to get into the lane. Watch as he gets into the lane. There are 4 white shirts in the lane. That leaves Nike Sabandi open, and even though Sabandi overall has a low three-point shooting percentage, his percentage is very good in ACC play, and as we said, he's made over 223s in his career.
It's a 13-2 run for a 12-point lead. Filipowski on the drive. Grandison off the feed. 3-ball for the Blue Devils. 16th of the year for Grandison.
And Grandison is the guy who can make them as well, and that sort of turnabout right there. Filipowski gets into the lane, draws the defense, and creates an open shot.
Duke's third three of this first half cuts the Pitt lead to 9. Elliott trying to answer. High arcing three.
Now Pitt will launch him up there. They've got some guys who can shoot him.
Oh, yeah. Whitehead tees one up. One and done are the Blue Devils at the offensive end. Burton with Grandison there.
Grandison's got a reputation as a defensive guy, but this is hard. Even harder for Filipowski. He's telling Federico to get out of the way.
Burton on the drive, lost the handle on it, and an offensive foul going to be called by Jeffrey Clark on Jamarius Burton. It'll be his first to third on Pittsburgh.
Well, and this time we get Filipowski, who gets right by outside and then slips by that charge. Hinson trying to take it, but you got a guy down inside, you got help coming, and that leaves a wide open area. On this end, Grandison's able to take the charge because Federico didn't get out of the lane the way Burton wanted him to. So he was there to help.
Proctor's back to run the offense. He spells Blake there in the dead ball. The drive by the freshman. And last touch by Pittsburgh.
And Wes, remember, he's got 2 fouls.
Right.
And I think in this particular situation, particularly with the freshman, I think everybody knows how to be careful on defense with 2 fouls. But can you be careful on offense? You know, Proctor's a guy who's got to drive and take it to the basket, but he's got to really be careful to not pick up a 3rd foul on a charging foul.
Proctor will put it in play on the baseline. Here's Filipowski. Grandison thought about it. There's a bounce pass. Back for the three. And it hit the shot clock above the glass, so that'll belong to Pitt. Well, don't forget, coming up next, Winston-Salem, Joel Coliseum will be the site for Game 2 of our doubleheader tonight here on ACC Network. Corey Alexander, Randolph Childress standing by the Corey cast tonight with Wake and Florida State.
Corey cast 2.
Corey cast 2, yes. And a foul called. And it will be on Federico.
Well, one of his jobs is to set screens, Wes, and when you're going to set a screen, you've got to get yourself stopped. And you also can't be shoving your opponent in the neck.
Yep.
Sometimes you want to, I understand that, but you can't do it.
It's against the rules.
Yes, it's forbidden.
Filipowski lost it on the dribble to Hinson. Pretty good post defense by Federico.
Federico can move, Wes.
Yeah. Here's Cummings. Now Elliott. 9-point lead for Pitt. There's the screen from Federico. Filipowski switches to Cummings. Gonna try and take him off the dribble. The scoop too strong. Rebounded by the Blue Devils. Here's the rookie Proctor ahead for Whitehead's catch and shoot three. There is a lot to like about 0 for John Shire.
Boy, there sure is.
Woo. Man. Sabandi. The triple cuts it to a 6-point Pitt lead. Sabandi almost lost himself on the bounce. Now a spot up 2. How about that?
That's pretty tough. Shows you the kind of confidence, though, that Duke has in Filipowski. They switch him out on guards. First Cummins, the point guard, and that time Sabandi.
Filipowski going to try and answer a 3, and does. 9 for Kyle Filipowski, 6 for Derek Whitehead, 15 of Duke's 23.
And only Filipowski's second three-point basket in ACC play.
Yep, 15th of the year for the freshman. Lead cut down to 5. Henson working with Mitchell. Spins at the foul lane. Got to do something. Shoots it out to Sabandi. Shot clock at 8. Mitchell defends. Sabandi air ball. Federico followed it. 4 for Federico. Back to a 7-point Pitt advantage.
Wes, if that hits the rim, I think the Blue Devils get the ball. But the air ball allowed Federico to put that one in.
Proctor out front. Filipowski challenging on the drive, and a foul ticketed on the Panthers. That'll get us to a timeout. Federico gets his second. It is the 5th on Pitt. Blue Devils shooting threes. Whitehead a moment ago, and then Filipowski from deep. Back in a moment. Well, 7-point lead for Pitt, Dan, and the stars are here. Burton has been terrific so far for Coach Capel. Filipowski, a 3 a moment ago, in addition to some of the other good things he's doing. He's 4 of 5 from the floor. The rest of the Blue Devils 4 of 17.
The rest of the Blue Devils 4 of 17. They're certainly glad they brought Filipowski along tonight.
Yep.
Wes, it's interesting. Duke is staying in this game with their three-point shooting. We showed you there. They've turned it over 8 times, and they're shooting under 40%. They're only shooting 36% overall.
Yeah.
But they're shooting over 40% from 3, and they've made 5 threes, and that's been the key so far.
By the way, the Panthers have 6 steals from 6 different players. Here's Filipowski at the line, the 13th best free throw shooter in the ACC, and it rattled out. He's coming off of 15, 9, and 3 blocks on Saturday at Boston College.
And he made a big play at the end of that game.
Tell the truth, right?
And everybody says, well, you know, they only won by 1 at Boston College. Let me tell you now, with Quentin Post back, Boston College is a different team. They've got a bunch of hard-nosed, tough guys.
Yep.
And particularly in Boston, I think they're going to be hard for anybody.
Yep. 10 points now for Filipowski. Blake's almost got the steal and got enough of it that Burton touched it last, said Jeffrey Clark. Turnover number 6 on Pittsburgh here in the first half.
And, of course, this is Blake's reputation as a defensive guy. And he thought he had that one, and again, it just tipped off Burton's fingers.
Lively's coming to game. They try for the lob, and there's the dunk.
And that's what Lively does, and he does it very well. And that's the first time we've been able to see Duke execute that against Pitt tonight.
Pick and roll, and Lively at the rim. Out front, nice fake Henson. He will get to the basket for the scoop and score.
Wes, it looked like he made that a whole lot more difficult than it had to be. I thought a little pull-up jumper is fine, but that's a heck of a move by a big man. They list him at 6'7", 235.
Deltona, Florida native Blake Henson. There's a 3 by Proctor that bounds away. Filipowski cleans it up, and he's fouled by Diaz-Graham. Guillermo will be ticketed with his first and the 6th overall on Pitt.
You see, Lively sets the screen and then just slips to the basket when Guillermo Diaz goes with the ball, and they've worked that very effectively for Lively.
Yep.
Almost all of his baskets this year so far have come on dunks.
Filipowski hit 1 of 2 a moment ago, now with 11 points. And this young man from Philadelphia, Dan, it's been a little scrappy. These are the last 3 games, and these are the averages. You see the point totals and the rebounds. And Lively's, you know, there was so much expectation. It's a preseason rookie of the year in the ACC now.
Well, there's a lot of expectations, Wes, and what he's discovering is if you can only dunk it, it's going to be hard to get score and hard to get minutes in this conference.
Cummings a step back too, rings the bell.
Wes, one thing we're seeing out here with Whitehead and Filipowski for Duke and Burton and Elliott and Cummings for Pitt, we've got some shot makers out on the court.
Sure do. Here's Proctor on the drive and a whistle and foul on the perimeter. 2 shots coming against Cummings. His first personal. 7th on Pittsburgh with 4:37 to play.
And this is what we're talking about with the Panthers. They get good ball movement, and Cummings, he doesn't hesitate. He drives Mitchell back with the dribble Mitchell, of course, has to be concerned that the little guy will get around him. He drives Mitchell back with the dribble and then can step back and make that jump shot.
4th point of the game for Tyrese Proctor. Don't forget, Thursday night is ladies' night. Women's basketball takes over ACC Network. NC State and the conference's leading scorer, Tanaya Latson of Florida State. That's at 6 o'clock. And then Miami and Georgia Tech. Nell Fortner and Katie Myers square up on ACC Women's Hoops here on ACC Network, and always available on the ESPN app.
Really nice job by Duke, Wes. They were down by 12.
And there's an offensive foul on Burton. It'll be his second.
And that's big for Pitt.
Yep. 4:26 to go. And the second on Burton, so he becomes the second Panther with 2, joining Federico. And Jeff Capel was concerned about foul trouble, reeling from the Clemson game on Saturday, and now his leading scorer in conference play, and the ACC's leading scorer in conference play at 21-4 is on the bench, more than likely for the final 4:20. And there is a moving screen on Lively for his second. He's the second Blue Devil with 2, and that's the 5th on John Shire's team at the 4:17 mark.
Wes, remember we said that John Shire's guys were trying really hard to stay in front of Burton? Well,
yep.
Blake's did, and the result was a foul. Now let's see how the Panthers are able to do here without their leader.
Cummings waves off the Diaz-Graham screen. Here is Henson with Mitchell defending, and he traveled. Drug the pivot foot. Turnover will be number 8 on Pittsburgh. There have been 17 combined here in the first half. 9 on Duke and 8 now on those Panthers.
Well, Henson has a couple of those turnovers. And again, here's the matchup. Filipowski is matched up against Henson.
Mitchell. Diaz-Graham got a piece of it. Second try, no good. Tap follow Lively. 4 for Lively.
The Pitt bench thinks that that ball was on. It was in the cylinder. The West, we're talking, Duke was down 12. Now they're within 2.
Yep. Here's Cummings. Elliott attacking on the drive, and we're going to get a reach, I believe, called. Is that Lively or Filipowski? It'll get us to a break. Ron Groover on the whistle here, and it is against Kyle Filipowski. 6th on the Blue Devils. 2-point lead for Pitt when we continue.
Wes, the rules say you can't touch the ball when it's in the cylinder above the basket or it's on the rim. And in this particular case, Derek Lively got both of them. It's on the rim and it's in the cylinder. You can see why Jeff Capel was upset about that. So that's gift wrapped for the Blue Devils right there.
Yep, Blue Devils get one on the house. And now after the foul a moment ago on Filipowski, by the way, he's on the floor with Lively, Proctor, Mitchell, and Blakes. It belongs to the Panthers, and here is Henson trying to drive in traffic. Almost worked himself into a... And there's a push and a foul off the ball on Lively. 3rd on Derek Lively with 3:21 to go. 7th on the Blue Devils.
That's a trip, Wes, and that's one of those things where it doesn't matter whether he's trying to do it or not. It was accidental. But if you make contact with somebody and through that contact you gain a significant advantage, and he did because he knocked Henson to the ground, then that's a foul.
Yep. A couple of changes for the Blue Devils. As Blake Henson, Dan already told you, terrific looking athlete, 6'7", 235, Deltona, Florida. Front end of the 1-and-1 dramatically falls in. Another look, and you see he just falls over the right foot of Lively.
Lively, he didn't realize he was there.
Yeah.
But again, it's contact that gave him an advantage, so that's a foul.
Henson hits the second one. He's got 7 here in the first half. Blake Henson, by the way, Dan, out of Deltona, Florida, was a highly recruited college football prospect.
Well, you can certainly see why.
Tight end. Had some SEC offers. 36-32, 4-point lead for Pittsburgh. Grandison back on the floor. Here's Proctor, by the way, playing with the 2 fouls. Filipowski thought about it on Diaz-Graham, puts it on the floor, turns it over, and a second foul on Filipowski as Elliott got knocked down. 8 now on the Blue Devils, 2nd on the freshman from Westtown, New York, and the 10th Duke turnover this first half.
And they're still only trailed by 4 points. This is a great job by Diaz-Graham moving his feet. And Filipowski, again, he didn't mean to do that. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now the place he's got to go is the bench.
1-1 for Greg Elliott. No good. And the rebound from Mitchell. Elliott's been double figures in 5 of Pitt's last 7 games and has just a single field goal here in the first half. Proctor, a deep 3. Rebounded Sabandi. Pitt is shooting 56% from the floor and leads by 4, Dan.
Well, they've turned it over. They've missed a couple of free throws. And Duke has shot it pretty well from 3.
Cummings. Here is Santos, step in 2 from the elbow. And the rebound for Whitehead.
But Wes, you play in this building and weird things happen. Happens to your offense.
Yep. Mitchell squares. Rebound for Sabandi. Pitt trying to flip the floor to create numbers. Right wing Elliott pushes up a 3 and it's good.
Elliott has been struggling to shoot a little bit, Wes, but you get a guy like that, a 3-point shooter like that, open in transition. That's going to be a positive just about every time.
It is not a confirmed 3, and Blake's can't hang on to it in front of the Pitt bench with under 2 minutes to go. So the Blue Devils another turnover in a half court. So that last bucket by Elliott is one they're going to want to confirm at the monitor, but they're not going to do it, I think, until we get toward the end of the half here. What do you think, Dan?
He's behind the line.
That's what I thought too. Not that my book's the gospel here, but I already marked it up as a made 3.
Okay, all right, well, you were right.
Yeah, got that one right, which is good for me in math. Elliott, sneaking baseline. Got it to Santos. Takes it in, he'll feed Diaz-Graham for the dunk. Guillermo, the older of the twins, flushes home his first field goal. Back to an 8-point lead for Pitt.
Just as Duke responded to Pitt, Pitt has now responded to the latest Duke run.
Whitehead the drive, bothered by Diaz-Graham. Young gives Duke another chance. Mitchell's 3. And Young scrambles inside. We're going to get a whistle and a foul.
I think you're going to get it on Sabandi.
Oh, it's going to be on Diaz-Graham.
This is really a nice play. And again, this is where Pitt finds their post guys on drives to the basket. The defense goes to help. The post guy just slides in there. Neither of the Diaz-Graham twins nor Federico get inside and post up in the traditional old school way. That's
Jorge.
Jorge, the younger brother.
Yep.
The smaller brother.
That's, well, yeah, by an inch.
Well,
so here is Young at the line. Front end of the 1-and-1. Ryan Young left it on the rim.
Boy, he never misses a free throw.
Nope.
So it seems.
Just his 6th miss in 36 tries. Final minute now, this opening half. Pittsburgh protecting an 8-point lead.
And Pitt has made this response without Burton.
Sabandi, jump shot good. That is 10 now for Sabandi. It's an 8-0 Pitt run to push the lead to 10 here. Young rolling against Diaz-Graham. Dumped it into the corner. Blake's his 3. Mitchell the rebound. Blocked from behind Diaz-Graham. It'll stay with the Blue Devils.
Wes, Diaz-Graham has been very active on the inside. He's only got that 1 bucket, but he's done a nice job rebounding the ball. He's done a nice job moving his feet.
And he'll come out of the ball game as Henson reports back for the final 26.9 here.
Pitt suddenly very small.
Here's Whitehead. There's about a 8-second differential. Shot clock to game clock as we wind down the first half. Whitehead on the drive, and that'll be an offensive foul. Nelly Cummings stepped in to draw the charge. Second on Derek Whitehead. He is the 4th Duke player with 2 or more.
He just doesn't get stopped in time. You know, he tried to make that jump stop, Wes, but he couldn't get stopped, and as a result, he gets another foul.
And Pitt's going to take the use it or lose it with a 10-point lead. Final possession of the half coming up in a moment. Well, Pittsburgh's going to have the final possession of the first half. It's a 9-0 run in the last 3:07 for Pitt, but maybe more of a concern, another drought here offensively for the Blue Devils.
With 2 droughts offensively in the first half. And Pitt, Wes, they've got 43 points in the first half.
Yeah.
And that's a Duke doesn't usually give up 43 points in a half in this building.
Blue Devils, little extended pressure here against Cummings. Whitehead with 10 seconds defending Nelly. 7. There's 5 seconds. Henson trying to set the screen. Cummings from the parking lot. Front rim miss. Henson collects, and the horn sounds before he can reset for a shot.
I think they wanted Cummings to create something, but not a shot from the parking lot.
Not a 30-footer?
Yeah, I don't think that was the play.
Nope. Panthers in the half on a 9-0 run. They lead by 11, 43-32. Jamarius Burton went to the bench with 4:25 to go in the half. But Pitt has a lead. Next up, Kelsey Riggs and Dallin Cuff. Half action, game 1 of our doubleheader tonight on ACC Network in Pittsburgh. The Panthers, Dan Bonner, 43, Duke 32. We get ready to start the second half here in just a moment.
Wes, and Duke had cut it to 2 points. It was 34-32. The only guy in this game, Wes, on either team in double figures is Kyle Filipowski, and he was very aggressive at the start of the game. He's made 4 out of 5 field goals. He's made 3 from the free throw line, but he's been aggressive. He tried to exploit that matchup against Hinson. He did a nice job on the offensive board, has a couple of offensive rebounds, 3 as a matter of fact, and he's also knocked down a 3-point basket. This is a Duke team that has struggled sometimes for offense with a couple of scoring droughts, but Filipowski has been consistent. You want to talk about consistency. Burton doesn't have 10, but he's got 9, and he's done it in a variety of different ways. He's gotten into the lane with a little floater and then with a circus shot, and then just beats everybody out on the perimeter and puts it in the basket. This is a kid who can put the ball in the basket, but interestingly enough, when he picked up that second personal foul and had to go out, from that point to the end of the half, Pitt outscored Duke 9-2.
There is no denying what Jeff Capel and his team have done, Dan. I mean, where they are, this is a good basketball team we're seeing here tonight.
How often have you seen somebody get faced with a run by Duke and respond that way? Look at Pitt, 70% from 2-point range, and the Blue Devils, they've been outstanding getting offensive rebounds, but they've only turned it into 6 second chance points. The Panthers only have 5 offensive rebounds, but they have 4 second chance points, and the turnovers have really hurt Duke.
All right, go to the second half. Mitchell, Young, Proctor, Filipowski, Whitehead out there for the Blue Devils. Federico with Elliott, Henson, Cummings, and Jamarius Burton.
Now Federico and Burton both have the 2 personal fouls.
Proctor playing with 2 as well for Duke, and there is Young. His first field goal of the ball game starts the second half.
There's not a lot Federico can do.
Yep. Brian Young had averaged 12 points and 8 rebounds and was 18 of 22 from the floor in his last 4 games coming in. But he has just 2 points from that basket there. Here's Burton sizing up Filipowski. Step back. Good. 11 for Burton, and he heard Bonner talking about it. 5th field goal for Jamarius Burton. Here's Young scoring up on Federico. Lively is the only player in the ball game with 3. He's on the Duke bench, and there's a
illegal screen.
Yep, Ryan Young picks up his first and number 1 of the second half on the Blue Devils.
You know, Wes, Pitt is not going to drop down on Young to help Federico out, and the Panthers, the Blue Devils might want to consider exploiting that. You have to get yourself set. You cannot be moving when you set that screen.
So Burton going to handle the ball here against Derek Whitehead.
If Burton plays for me, he can do anything he wants.
Working on Filipowski. Reroutes, skips for Henson. Slides baseline. Burton attacks off the dribble. Skip for Cummings out front. Elliott open, pushes up a 3. And Mitchell the rebound.
Elliott looked off balance when he caught that ball. He was leaning forward.
Filipowski the dunk. He's got 14 now.
And the Blue Devils need to get easier baskets, and that's one way to do it.
9-point lead for Pitt. Young defends Cummings. Nelly squares for three and hits.
Now, he is not a high percentage free throw shooter, but he shoots them up there, so you got to make sure you stay close enough that you can bother that.
He had 22 against Syracuse in a road win for Pitt this year, including 6 of 11 from behind the line.
I think the Blue Devils would be wise to get Mitchell a little more involved.
Filipowski squares and turns. He's got 16, 4 of Duke's 6 here in the second half.
You know, Mitchell hadn't made a basket tonight. He's 0 for 5.
And his only points are at the free throw line. Here's Cummings. He tried to weave through traffic, and John Gaffney with a foul, and it's going to be on Proctor, and that'll be his third.
Well, Proctor, this is just a really nice pass to Filipowski. I don't know how you lose Filipowski, but the Panthers did. Really nice job by the big guy to run the court and Tyrese Proctor to find him.
Here's Henson. Collects for a 2 off the left side. And the rebound for the Blue Devils.
Henson is the Panthers have 7 steals, Wes, by 7 different guys. Henson is the only guy who's played for Pitt tonight who doesn't have a steal.
Young kicks for Whitehead's 3. Missed badly. Mitchell the rebound. Federico tried to bother it. There's the first field goal for the freshman Mark Mitchell.
And Mitchell's a guy who's just going to keep working, Wes. He's not going to get upset if things aren't going well. He is a hard worker. There's another offensive rebound, and that time the Blue Devils cashed it in.
Cummings a step back. High arcing shot is good for Nelly Cummings. He's got 5 in the half, 9 in the ball game, and it's still a double-figure advantage for the Panthers.
Well, he likes that step back, doesn't he?
Yep. Seemingly feels like a basic part of what they do offensively.
Yes. And remember, Cummings is only 6 feet tall, so this step back has to be an important part of his arsenal. He's going up against the 6'10" guy. But there was a lot of arc on that ball.
Proctor will put it in play. The foul was on Elliott. It was his second. There's Young weaving through with a right-hand jump hook. It's his second field goal.
He's just too strong for Federico.
Yep. Cummings.
He's telling everybody get out of the way.
Working against Young. Passes on the 3. Henson trying to drive Mitchell into traffic. 10 to shoot for Burton. Wants a screen. Federico obliges. Burton on the attack. Foul line with 3 on the shot clock. Spins out. Rebound Filipowski.
Burton almost made that one, but that's the way you have to defend him. Nice job by the Blue Devils.
8-point game. Young again. Been effective here at the start of the half. Filipowski has as well. The 3 goes begging, and the rebound for Federico.
Wide open one for Filipowski because Henson dropped down in to help. Pitt trying to spread the floor here.
Burton against Filipowski. Off the screen. Into traffic. John Shire wanted travel. 3 to shoot. Cummings on the drive. The scoop. Bothered. Filipowski the rebound. Ball never reached the rim. Here's Proctor and Duke. Proctor the initiative and swatted out of there by Federico.
That's some play by Federico.
Timeout on the floor. Pitt by 8 early second half.
Wes, back in Cameron, if you're going to defend Jamarius Burton, you've got to stay in front of him, first of all. You can't let him get by. Nice job by Young to stop him. And then Whitehead moves in front. You've got to stay down. You can't go for those ball fakes. Forces Burton into a very difficult shot. This guy is a key for the Pitt offense, not only with his scoring, but he creates. You see, he's got 5 assists in the game tonight. You cannot let him get by you. Again, easier said than done. And you have to stay down on his ball fakes.
There's Filipowski got trapped. Whitehead slashes, left it on the rim, and Young couldn't control it. And Young says last touch by Pitt, and so does Jeffrey Clark.
Well, Young's opinion really isn't the one that matters there. But,
I understand, but he offered, and Jeffrey Clark obliged. So there you go. Whitehead with a fresh 20. Young the rebound. Duke going to get a 3rd crack, and Filipowski.
4th crack.
Yeah. On the drive, and he'll get free throws.
Now, Pitt is ahead in this game, Wes, but they've got to get this offensive rebounding figured out. Duke is just dominating the offensive boards.
Pair of free throws for Filipowski, who is 3 for 4.
Duke now with 18 offensive rebounds.
And here's the first one. That is good. 5.5, 17 in the game now for Filipowski. Don't forget Thursday nights. It's ladies' night and nothing but net, of course. Our terrific women's basketball show, Kelsey Riggs, the Hall of Fame coach Muffet McGraw, Kelly Gramlich, Ivory Latta, now part of the team as well. All the coverage you want, the games, the schedule, the analysis, and all the highlights. Coming up on Nothing But Net tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern, following our women's doubleheader on ACC Network and always on the ESPN app.
Now let's see if Pitt can blunt this Duke surge.
And a foul will be called on the Blue Devils. And it is on Whitehead. Derek Whitehead draws his third of the half on Duke.
The officials, Wes, are very rarely going to let you get away with slapping at the ball from behind. John Shire not particularly happy. Remember we said you couldn't let Burton get past you? Well, again, that's much easier to say, but hard to do.
Henson had a 3 rim out from the left corner. 6-point game. Proctor. Here's Filipowski, now Whitehead, and he's got Nike Sabandi, who was quite a spark off the bench in the first half. Now Filipowski turns, and a skip from Mitchell's lefty 3.
When Mitchell, he makes a high percentage of those wide open threes. Missed a couple tonight.
Sure. And now Cummings to work. Spot up at 16 feet and good for Nellie Cummings.
Wes, they are so good, those guards in the mid-range.
Yep. 7.5, 11 in the ball game for Cummings. It's an 8-point Pitt lead with 6 minutes gone in the second half.
Boy, that's great help by Federico, and then to get back to his man.
Here's Proctor now with 8 to shoot. To Young. Federico recovers. Mitchell tried to go back to Young, taken away Sabandi. Pitt with a transition chance, and Nike Sabandi had it blocked by Whitehead.
Overpassing there by the Blue Devils, and Pitt, they never gave up on the defensive end, and that's another steal.
So Guillermo Diaz-Graham checks in for the Panthers, and Lively has joined Grandison in the lineup for Duke. Cummings got to find an outlet on the baseline out of bounds, and it's the 7-foot freshman from the Canary Islands. Burton shakes Filipowski. Hangier left it short. Might have been bothered.
I think either Filipowski or Lively got a hand on that. Nice defense. Whitehead
spot up 3. Too strong and knocked out of bounds by Grandison, says Jeffrey Clark.
Well, that ball bounced off a couple of guys, and I think it might have been Filipowski as the last guy it hit. You know, it's like pinball out here. Right off the head.
Oh, it hit the hand.
Yeah, right off the head of Cummins and off the hand of Filipowski. That's a surprise for Cummins.
Eddie Cummings almost had a header. 7 minutes in, here's Cummings. On the drive, nice play, Grandison.
But a great play by Filipowski to not let him get by.
Proctor. Skip for Filipowski, he'll slash from the wing and turned it over to Diaz-Graham. Number 15 for the Blue Devils tonight. Sabandi. Tried to go to Burton, it got knocked away, and it's returned on the turnover by Pitt. Grandison, Filipowski, layup and one. Guillermo Diaz-Graham's third, and the third on Pitt here in the second half.
This is a situation where you have to get back on defense, and Diaz-Graham just doesn't beat Filipowski down the court. Filipowski's having a great game tonight.
He is 5 of 6 at the line. And we'll go to the stripe here to try and make it a 5-point Pittsburgh lead. I got to tell you, there have been a handful of consecutive possessions that have been like a fire drill here tonight in this building.
You know, if you're the Pitt Panthers, You cannot be relying on the official to blow the whistle here. You have to be very tough with the basketball because Duke has suddenly raised the defensive intensity, and now they have the crowd behind them. This is an important possession for Pitt.
John Shire's got a new student assistant on his bench, and Jeremy Roach urging his teammates. Sabandi a three. Back rim, bounds away for Grandison.
I think you got to probe the interior a little bit before you take that one in that situation.
Proctor on the drive, feeds Lively. Right hand layup, fell off. Filipowski's got 20. Actually 21 to go with 9 rebounds tonight. Sabandi. Cummings with Lively defending.
Again, they don't try to post up the big guy.
Burton attacks on the dribble against Lively. Can't score it. Diaz-Graham had it and draws the foul. So we'll go to the break on a Blue Devil foul. The ball will belong to the Panthers, who are up 5. Foul was on Grandison. Filipowski's got 21 and 9 to lead the ball game. Well, a legacy basketball player in his own right. His dad played at Slippery Rock. His mom played at Long Beach State. Kyle Filipowski's on the verge of his 7th double-double, but Danny's got a season-high 21 tonight for Duke, and that's a big reason they're within 5.
Well, and you can see what he's meant to the team. He scored almost half the points. You know, the rest of the team's made 9 field goals. He has 7. And I think the key, though, here in the second half is Duke has really turned it up on the defensive end. Remember, Pitt shot 56% in the first half. They've only made 4 of 13 field goals here in the second.
Burton.
They've made life difficult for Burton.
Yep. He is 5 of 10 from the floor. And Lively picked it. And here's Whitehead. Bounce pass, Proctor, and one. On the flyby, picks up his second. Proctor's got his second field goal.
And Wes, this is just a tremendous defensive play by Lively. And if you're Nelly Cummins, for heaven's sakes, you're 6 feet tall. The odds that you're going to block this shot are very limited. Just let that one go.
Tyrese Proctor at the line, and a chance to draw Duke to within 2.
Pitt is doing a little standing around here in the second half, Wes. That's why they're 4 for 13, I think. And they've become a little tentative. They're not as aggressive offensively as they were in the first half. And as a result, we're back to a 2-point game.
Yep, 8 tonight for Proctor, who was averaging just 5 points in his previous 3 games.
You can see Pitt, they're in a bit of a scoring drought themselves. They haven't really had a good shot.
Diaz-Graham now for Cummings. 9 minutes gone, second half. It was an 11-point lead at the break. Cummings, 5 to shoot. He'll take Lively into traffic. Now here's Burton at the top for 3. Back rim miss, and Whitehead clears.
That's great defense.
Duke hasn't led since it was 5-4. Proctor, Lively, tied. Timeout, Jeff Capel. John Shire wondered about the energy in the building helping his team. It's here now. A lot of Blue Devil fans happy that the Duke has whittled away the 11-point deficit at halftime to now tie Pitt 52-all, but maybe no one more happier than James Walter, a 7th grader at Holly Ridge Middle School here in the Raleigh-Durham area. James is the honorary captain of the Duke basketball team today. He's going to begin an intensive round of chemotherapy tomorrow at Duke Children's Hospital, and he has been part of shoot-arounds and everything today for Duke basketball. It's a special young man who's got quite a challenge. And it's nice to see him having a big night here. Foul is on Whitehead of Duke.
We wish him all the best.
Yep, absolutely. That's the 4th on Derek Whitehead. 5th on Duke with 10:13 to go here in the ball game. We'll keep an eye on that, Dan, because outside of Filipowski, that's a guy that can go get you points. Here is Burton with Mitchell defending.
Well, part of the problem for Pitt is that Lively and Filipowski have been switching out on those ball screens, and Pitt can't shoot over them.
Cummings, front rim miss of a 3.
Pitt is spreading the court, trying to get the ball to beat Duke off the dribble, and they can't do it, and it's hard to shoot over top.
8-0 run by the Blue Devils. Grandison, here's Lively. Federico defends, and Lively can't finish. Burton the rebound. Pitt's only hit 1 of their last 10. Henson baseline and knocked to the floor. I think he got too far into the basket. Proctor for Filipowski in the lead. Nope. Lively the rebound, and we're going to get a whistle and a foul underneath the basket that will keep possession with the Blue Devils, and it's on Nelly Cummings. It'll be his 3rd.
Well, that's another offensive rebound for Duke. That's 20 in the game.
Yep. Yes. And what was the first thing Jeff Capel said he was concerned about today, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, the man knows his business.
Absolutely right. Mitchell spinning on Sabandi, layup good.
He's too big for Sabandi.
Second field goal for Mitchell. Duke in front for the first time since it was 5-4.
Now let's see how Pitt responds.
Yep. Burton on the drive. Too strong.
He's worried about Lively.
Lob, Lively came down with it, feeds Filipowski. And the Blue Devil bench erupts. Jeff Capel a timeout.
Wes, one of the things that Duke has been able to do is get out in transition. This is a great job by Lively to not walk, to keep his balance, and Filipowski bails him out by doing something very simple. He just runs the court.
Dan, they've tightened up things at the defensive end of the floor for sure. You talk about the way they're handling screens here in the second half.
Well, Wes, the other thing they've done is they've stopped throwing it to Pitt. They've cut down on the turnovers, so Pitt has not had as many easy opportunities. Pitt has to go every time against the set defense, and they try to start it with a high ball screen there with Federico, and either Filipowski or Lively have been switching out, and the Pitt guards simply have not been able to be productive, either getting around or shooting over the top.
Pitt's been outscored 24-9 here in the second half.
Well, they've had to take tough shots against the set defense.
Only one timeout to go in the ball game for the Panthers. Burton with Proctor defending. And a foul on Tyrese Proctor, and that's his 4th.
Well, he literally stuck his nose in there, and
yep. And Chris Carrawell and John Shire, I think, want Jeff Clark and these guys to have a look at the monitor. Proctor comes out on the 4th foul with 8:31 to play.
Well, the question is this a flagrant foul on Jamarius Burton? You know, Burton did swing his elbows out there.
So we will have a monitor check here. I don't see anything there. Do you?
Well, this is clearly a foul, and watch Burton's right arm. It comes up, and I just think his arm was coming up.
But the ball got knocked loose in the process, right?
Right.
So
no. Watch here. No. Right there.
Okay.
I mean, that's totally inadvertent.
Okay. So Proctor has 4. Whitehead has 4. Lively has 3. There's a look, and 8:31 to go.
Now Lively had all 3 of his in the first half. He has done a nice job here in the second half.
Well, you mentioned the schematic change against the screens here for Duke defensively, right? They've changed some little bit of a wrinkle here and there.
They switched the screens in the first half, Wes, but the thing I think in the first half is Duke wasn't able to really set their defense. Remember we talked about Pitt having 7 steals? Well, if the guys are stealing the ball, you can't get back and set your defense. And so Pitt was able to just flow into an offense, and they weren't as easy to defend. In this half, Pitt has not been able to generate those steals.
So while the discussion ensues, quick reminder to you, women's basketball takes over the ACC network tomorrow night. Number 11, NC State. And Florida State starts our coverage at 6 o'clock, and then Miami, Georgia Tech from McCamish Pavilion in Midtown Atlanta follows that. ACC Women's Hoops on a Thursday night here on ACC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app.
Well, Wes, clearly since we're taking so long with this review, the guys working the game aren't as dismissive of it as I was.
So John Gaffney, Jeffrey Clark, Ron Groover, the trio in discussion. And the video being replayed here inside of Cameron Indoor Stadium. And as you might imagine, the partisan Blue Devil crowd thinks that Burton is guilty.
Well, there was contact there. There's no question, Wes. And there was contact with the elbow to the face. But he's bringing up his arm and just running straight through. With all this discussion here, they may be Jeff Capel, it's a flagrant foul. Jeff Capel, the way he just reacted, he is not happy with this. Okay, it's the same thing. It's on the foul, Wes. The foul makes it a dead ball. So it is a foul on
Proctor.
And so the ball's dead once they blow the whistle with the foul, and then there's the contact. And so basically what they've called is a dead ball technical foul. It's the same penalty as a flagrant foul. It's basically a flagrant foul when the ball is dead. So you're going to have 2 shots here for Duke. And then you're going to pick it up where you stopped.
And that means Pitt will have the ball.
Yes.
Filipowski has hit 7 in a row after missing his first, and I guess I'm responsible for that, according to some. So it's a 5-point game, and now Pittsburgh will have the ball on the baseline.
No, excuse me.
Duke has the ball.
I'm sorry, Wes. It's a flagrant foul when the ball is dead, and the penalty for a flagrant foul is 2 shots on the ball.
And the ball.
So that's the penalty for this dead ball technical foul. Okay. Well. I'm sorry.
Largest lead of the game for Duke on the free throw by Filipowski, and the Blue Devils the ball.
And they have a chance to extend it.
Sure do. Here's Mitchell spinning in traffic, forced it with the left hand, and a foul called on Federico. It'll be his 4th. He becomes the first Pitt player with 4 at the 8:20 mark.
Wes, and the other thing that has happened here in this second half is Pittsburgh has not gotten to the free throw line.
That's it.
And
0.
The Panthers, they score a lot of points from the free throw line. In their big win against Virginia, they outscored the Cavaliers 11-2 from the line in the second half. And so the Panthers, they want to attack, they want to draw the defense, they want to draw fouls, they want to kick it out for threes. They haven't been able to do that for the last 4 or 5 minutes.
6.5, 8 in the ball game. It is a 15-0 run by Duke. It's a 19-2 run over the last 8:15.
So here's that switch on the ball screen again.
Only 9 second-half points for Pitt. Henson, the catch, but a foul first, I believe, on Blake's.
Well, it took Pitt a little while to recognize that mismatch inside. Henson was asking for the ball.
8:04 to go, and that's the 7th foul on Duke. And the first on the sophomore from New Jersey and Jalen Blakes. So here is Henson. And left it short on a 1-and-1.
He's a 70% free throw shooter, and in a type of game like this where you desperately need points, you just can't leave it there.
Yep. Filipowski. Here is Mitchell with Burton defending. Mitchell with 5 on the shot clock. Bounces to Filipowski. He'll turn, fall away. And Henson the rebound.
And you got to push now. You got to try to get down and get an easy basket.
Here's Burton against Blakes. Diaz-Graham trying to help with a screen.
And there's that switch.
Yep, now Lively with Burton. Jamarius will get a foul drawn on Lively. Well, it was an 11-point Pitt lead at the half. Duke is on a big run, 19-2, and the Blue Devils lead by 7 when we come back on ACC Network. 7-point lead for Duke. Pittsburgh has but 9 points here in the second half, and it's a 19-2 run for the Blue Devils in the last 9 minutes. And Pittsburgh doesn't have a point in the last 6:45, Dan.
This is an amazing turnaround, Wes. The Panthers are 4 for 17 overall in this half, 1 for 6 from 3. They just haven't had any really good opportunities.
Foul on Lively, his 4th. He comes off the floor. Young, Filipowski, Grandison, Mitchell, and Blake's out there for Duke. Jamarius Burton at the line for Pittsburgh, and the front end is good.
Well, they've dug themselves a hole, Wes, and the first thing the Panthers have to do, like anybody else when you dig yourself a hole, when you get in a hole, is to stop digging. And so that's what they're doing right now with that basket. Now they've got to get a couple of stops and get back to what they were doing on offense in the first half.
Yep. Second one bounced away. He's an 80% free throw shooter. Nice. 2 of 3 is Burton.
So maybe they haven't stopped digging.
6-point game.
Speaking of digging, you got to dig in here on the defensive end.
Filipowski's had a terrific night. And knocked down Henson. No foul called. And then a foul on Diaz-Graham, which will be his 4th. And the 7th on Pitt with 7:06 to go.
Henson is going to try to take a charge, and there's a lot of contact there, Wes. And, so is that a flop? Is that a foul? The officials obviously ruled yes, there was contact, but, incidental, obviously.
And Jeff Clark talking to Guillermo Diaz-Graham, and now Ron Groover is asking what for. And so now the question I think here is
they're calling a blocking foul
on Henson.
On Henson, okay. So that's what they're doing. We originally thought the foul was on Guillermo Diaz-Graham trying to block the shot, but they've ruled that was a foul on Henson for a blocking foul. So the foul is right here on Henson, and they ruled that to be a foul because Henson stepped toward. There was a lot of contact there, but Henson stepped toward Filipowski.
So now it is a 1-and-1 for Filipowski. It was not on Diaz-Graham, and it will not be a 2-shot opportunity, which is what was originally ticketed. And the free throw good for Kyle Filipowski, who now has, and all these points are season highs. He's got 25. He's also got his 7th double-double, which ties him for 3rd in the ACC. Armando Bacot has 9. Hunter Tyson at Clemson 8. And Filipowski in a group at 7.
Wes, remember the Panthers scored 43 points.
Elliott, who's been quiet here in the second half on the drive, and a block is called on Ryan Young by Ron Groover. So Young picks up his 2nd. 9th team foul, but 2 shots for the Marquette transfer. Elliott
gets around Filipowski. Those are bang calls, Wes.
Yep.
That's a break for Pitt right there.
So here is Greg Elliott, the 3rd to shoot free throws. Grad student from Detroit. Free throw good. 6 tonight for Elliott. He averages 8.5 against the league. Duke assistant coach Chris Carrawell actually coached Elliott at Marquette when he was there with Steve Wojciechowski. You start doing some deep dive on the Pitt roster, you find out they got 4 guys that have played a decade of basketball, it feels like. But these young Duke players have kind of matured and battled here tonight. And
Pitt to his own.
Yep, here's a 3 by Blakes. And the rebound, Burton battling Young, who rolled to the deck and then saved it to Grandison. Here's Mitchell on the drive. Young again, blocked foul, Diaz-Graham.
Now Diaz-Graham's got to be careful. He doesn't want to get a technical foul. What a play by Ryan Young.
Yep.
Diving on the floor after the ball. I mean, he was close to the sideline there, and he didn't go out of bounds. Dives on the floor after the ball and gets rid of it. Nice job by Grandison to go over and help his teammate out.
Here's Young, first of 2 at the line after the 4th on Diaz-Graham. 5th point for Young. John Shire, in our visit, said, you know, we did some really good things at Boston College the other day. Certainly better than what they had done a week ago tonight in Raleigh. Young missed the 2nd. He said, but we're still kind of finding ourselves.
Well, they've made a great response tonight.
Sure have. Burton had it blocked by Young. Here's Blakes. Ahead for Filipowski, challenged by Henson. And the second follow no good, and a foul called here. And we'll see if this is Diaz-Graham, and that is 5.
Wes, that's 22 offensive rebounds for Duke. And again, Duke is getting these offensive rebounds in a large case because they're playing in transition. And even when they're not playing in transition, they're getting the ball in the lane. They're causing the defense to come and help, and that creates rebounding lanes.
Second time this year, Guillermo Diaz-Graham has fouled out of a game. By the way, coming into tonight, he had only committed 5 fouls in 5 ACC games. He has 5 tonight. And frustration in talking to his twin brother, Jorge. Filipowski, the first one, and the second one drops through too. Freshman's been good tonight. Been
sure
very
has.
good. 28 and 14 for Filipowski. Pitt's gone 8 minutes without a field goal. Down 9, Cummings drops in a 3 on cue.
They desperately needed that one. Now, Wes, they have time. That we've still got almost 6 minutes left in this game, but they've got to start getting some stops. And part of that, you don't get a stop until you get the ball. They've got to rebound the ball defensively.
10 in the second half for Cummings, 14 in the ball game. Mitchell. Here's Young, skip to Blakes. Knock Cummings down, Grandison a 3 out of the corner. Wow, and a timeout for John Shire. 24-year-old Jacob Grandison. Most senior man on the Duke roster in his 131st college game tonight has dropped a pair of 3s in the ball game, and the lead is 9 again for Duke, Dan.
Well, and this is just a great play by Young. He does such a good job getting the ball out. And again, even against the zone, Wes, we see that dribble penetration forces the defense to come and help. Now, Pitt wanted a charge on that play, but when the defense collapses, Grandison is a very good three-point shooter, particularly when he has his feet set, and he was able to get his feet set, had just enough time.
9-point game again with 5:28 to play. Don't forget, coming up, coverage from Winston-Salem. Florida State, who's won 4 of their last 6, meets a Wake Forest team that has beaten Florida State the last 2 times they played. And tonight the Seminoles get the 6'11 phenom Baba Miller onto the floor for the first time.
Well, Wes, we've heard an awful lot about Miller. The Florida State folks have been talking about him since the year started, so opportunity for him to showcase his talents, and Florida State on the road, they need that.
Corey Alexander, Randolph Childers standing by from the Joel in Winston-Salem. Steve Forbes' team 11-5, 3-2 in the league. Leonard Hamilton's team is 3-2 in the league, 5-11 overall. Burton, step back on Mitchell. And the rebound for Filipowski.
Burton was open, Wes, but he wasn't ready to shoot the ball, and it wasn't a good pass either. And by the time he got the ball under control, the defense was there.
Mitchell, Grandison. Now Filipowski, a skip for Blakes. Grandison calling for it in the left corner. Wide open, he'll launch. Spun out. Battle for the ball. Blakes has got it. Here's Young. Got it blocked from behind by Federico. Cleans it up and scores. Duke's got a season-high 23 offensive rebounds tonight. Henson fires for three. The rebound for Burton. Back in traffic. Burton scores.
Wes, it's still only a 9-point game, but the Panthers, I mean, they can't get a rebound.
69-60.
And if you're Duke, you don't want to get tentative, but you don't need to go at a breakneck pace anymore. You've got a 9-point lead. The clock is your friend in this particular situation.
Blakes off a screen, a deep from in front three. And Henson clears the rebound.
A little bit of standing around by Duke against the zone. And again, you got to be careful about taking your foot off the gas.
Here's Henson, left wing triple away. And Grandison made the save. Federico goes to the deck with Young. And Ron Groover's whistle stops play. Held ball, and possession will stay with the Panthers. Timeout in Durham, 3:35 to go, and the Blue Devils lead is 9.
Subway keeps.
Baba Miller, Dan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking forward to seeing that. Nobody more than Leonard Hamilton.
That's, yeah. Kelsey and you and me would be right behind Leonard Hamilton.
You know, maybe not right behind, maybe a little further behind.
Yeah. Pitt scored 17 second-half points. Kyle Filipowski scored 16. And a foul on Mitchell as Cummings was trying to put the ball in play on the baseline. And Mark Mitchell's first of the night, but it is the 10th team foul on Pitt with 3:35 to go.
Wes, and if you're the Pitt Panthers and you're having the kind of struggles they're having on offense, it's awfully hard for that not to carry over on the defensive end. And I think we've seen a little bit of that tonight.
2 shots here for Greg Elliott III. And the first one good.
Wes, and the Panthers still have time, but they have run out of wiggle room.
That's it. Federico takes a break. They're going to size down now with Nike Sabandi checking into the lineup.
Well, they forced 12 turnovers in the first half, Wes, only 3 here in the second half. Duke has done an outstanding job hanging on to the basketball, and that's a big reason for their offensive resurgence.
9 in the ball game for Elliott, 7-point Duke lead. Jeff Capel, 1 timeout remaining. John Shire has 2.
So Burton's trying to match up against Filipowski.
And we got double bonuses both ways.
See if Duke elects to try to get him down inside.
Young against Henson. Double team coming, skips for Mitchell. He lost it. It'll belong to Pitt.
Well, Wes, there's the turnover. You know, we said Duke has only had 3 in the second half. That's 4. And it's a break for the Blue Devils that's not a transition turnover. The ball goes out of bounds, and so they can set their defense.
Lively into the ball game to replace Young. Sabandi, shot fake on Filipowski, drives and draws Lively's 5th foul.
Lively wasn't in there long.
Say what you want about Nike Sabandi. That's a heady play right there. Lively going to foul out with 6 points tonight and do so with 3:01 to play in the ball game.
Wes, that is a smart play because Filipowski runs at him, runs him off the 3-point line, and then rather than take the mid-range pull-up jumper, he sees that it's Lively there. It's going to be tough to shoot over him, so he goes right at him and draws the foul.
Third time this year that Lively has fouled out of a ball game. First time in ACC play.
Lively could block a mid-range jump shot, and that's good recognition by Sabandi to go right at him.
Nike Sabandi, and the free throw attempt is good.
And Wes,
first point of the second half, Dan.
We said that Pitt wasn't getting to the free throw line. Well, suddenly they are, and they're crawling back into the game just
with the clock stop too, by the way. Second one good. A dozen for Sabandi. And here is Blake's. Pressured into the front court. Avoids the double team with a pass to Proctor. Filipowski trying to help with a screen. Here's Young.
Filipowski working to get the ball inside.
Yep, Burton there defensively. Double team with Elliott. 6 to shoot. Here's Proctor on the drive. And he got the bounce off the glass.
Wow, that's a big play.
5.5. Double figures for Proctor now. And a timeout taken by Duke. They got one left tonight.
Wes, that's a huge play for the youngest guy out there.
Tell the truth.
And remember, Jeremy Roach, we've said it a couple times, he's not playing tonight. So Proctor steps in with the main point guard responsibilities. And this is just a really good, tough play in a big situation.
First double-figure effort for Tyrese Proctor in the last 5 games. And the freshman from Australia, still just 18 years of age.
Wes, you were talking about all the guys on the court with 100+ games. Proctor isn't one of them.
No, he's not. In fact, he shouldn't be playing in year 1. He should be here next year, but reclassified an opportunity to contribute, and John Shire welcomed him. And with Roach's injury, as you alluded to, it's been baptism by fire in many respects. Don't forget, those of you waiting on Wake Forest and Florida State, it's available now on the ESPN app. We'll send you to the Twin Cities as soon as we're done here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Corey Alexander and Randolph Childress standing by to deliver the details of the Deeks and the Noles tonight. Here is Cummings into the forecourt now. Drives Mitchell to the basket, lost the handle on it, and a kickball awarded to Duke.
So I'm not sure, did he dribble the ball? Was he out of bounds? He fell down. Was he out of bounds touching the ball?
Yeah, might have been. Okay. Oh, that's what happened. Yep, raised the left leg. Yep. So the kick violation awards it to Duke.
I don't know that I've seen that one. Guy kicks it.
Not in a while, at least.
No.
Yeah.
So if you're the Panthers now, you really need to take the ball. You need takeaways.
And Duke's content to burn the clock down here. 7 to shoot. Blake's drives into Burton. Offensive foul. Jamarius Burton will draw Jalen Blake's his second foul.
Well,
Player control, no free throws.
Blake's is very aggressive, Wes, but you gotta, right here, you gotta get right there and you stop, do a jump stop, kick the ball out. And that's what John Shire was telling him. Okay, now you've gotten to stop, now you gotta get a basket. And you gotta do it relatively quickly.
Under 2 to go in a 7-point game. Here's Burton. Out front, Henson, that's a long 3 and it's good. Blake Henson, second triple of the night, gives him double figures. He's got 10 now.
It's a 4-point game.
100 seconds to go. Proctor against Nelly Cummings. Filipowski going to try and help. Henson switches inside, tough shot, Proctor. 7.5, a dozen in the game.
And 2 big ones recently.
Yep. Here's Burton, tried to beat the Blue Devils off the bounce, ahead of a minute to go. Takes Mitchell inside, the contact and the hoop for Burton. 7.5, 16 in the game. 1 minute to go in a 4-point game, but Pitt's got to get stops. They want to have a crack at it.
And Duke taking their time.
Sure. Here's Whitehead. They swing it to the corner, back for Mitchell. 10 to shoot. Proctor look for Filipowski on the roll. He'll step for 3. Rebounded by Elliott.
Boy, you got to go now.
Here's Cummings inside 30 seconds. He'll take Mitchell to the basket, skip for Elliott, out of the corner for 3, too strong. Rebound by Mitchell and a foul on Nelly Cummings. fourth on Cummings. 2 shots for Mitchell, who's 4 for 4 tonight at the line.
Well,
Elliott went for the home run ball.
Well, and he had a good look at it, and he's a guy that's, during his time at Marquette, he's a 40% career three-point shooter coming into the year. So if you're Pitt, you like that shot. It just didn't go.
Mitchell's free throw is good. It'll be a 2-possession game for Pittsburgh, regardless of a make or miss here, with 21.5 to go. And he knocks it down. So it's a 6-point game. Pittsburgh's got to get going. Henson back for Sabandi. Over the top of Proctor for 3. Back rim miss. Burton had it, lost it. Here is Blakes. He'll give it to Proctor. And a foul by Burton. Comes with 7.3 left to go. And the Blue Devils can feel their 4th ACC win, their 13th on the year, and their 6th in the last 7 games, Dan.
Wes, this is an impressive performance. They're down 9 at halftime, and they responded.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, we've seen, in the last couple of games, we've seen Derek Whitehead. He wasn't such a big factor tonight, but down the stretch when they had to have baskets, who was it who was getting the basket for him? It was Tyrese Proctor.
Sure was. One freshman last Saturday, actually a combination of Whitehead and Filipowski, and here tonight, Tyrese Proctor, a 9-point second half, 14 points in the ball game. The layup missed by Burton, and the ball game will end. Duke, who trailed 11 at halftime, wins 77-69. Pittsburgh shoots less than 30% from the floor in the second half as they fall for a second straight time in the ACC. Kyle Filipowski's 7th double-double of the year, 28 points and 15 rebounds, Dan. Very impressive by Duke, who's at Clemson on Saturday.
Really impressive win.
Pittsburgh gets to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. For Dan Bonner, Wes Durham, our great crew, thanks to our producer, Will Black. Now off to Winston-Salem. Here's Corey Alexander.